So I've been seeing a good few comments and people talking about the fact that apparently the US Patent Office has admitted that they were wrong to grant Nintendo the patents they've been granting them, and that they're going to correct this error, that they should correct this error. And the truth of that matter is no, they didn't. A lot of this seems to be stemming from two sources. One is a PC Gamer article, and two is a article by The Verge. In the PC Gamer article, a patent lawyer by the name of Kirk Sigmund is quoted as saying, is quoted as saying, broadly, I don't disagree with the many online complaints about these Nintendo patents. They have been an embarrassing failure of the US patent system. And then goes on to say, this seems like a situation where the USPTO essentially gave up and just allowed the case, assuming that the claims were narrow or specific enough to be new without evaluating them too closely. I strongly disagree with the result. In my view, these claims were in no way allowable. That's talking about the fact that there is a parent patent that the other patents are coming from, the other three patents are coming from. And then goes on to say, pragmatically speaking, though it's not impossible to be sued for a patent infringement even when the claim infringement argument is weak, and bad patents like this cast a massive shadow on the industry, basically stating the fact that you can get sued for a patent. It's not impossible to get sued for a patent, even if the patent infringement claim isn't really that strong or the patent is invalid, because that's what Nintendo's doing right now. And that this has the opportunity to allow companies to bully small indie studios and small companies that don't have the resources necessary to fight those patents, to fight those lawsuits because of those patents and fight the legitimacy of those patents. And he finally closes by saying, in my opinion, none of the three patents I've discussed here should have been allowed. It's shocking and offensive that they were. The USPTO dropped the ball big time, and it's going to externalize a lot of uncertainty and potentially litigation cost onto developers and companies that do not deserve it. Again, this man, Kirk Sigmund, is saying this should have never happened, and this has the potential to cause what we are seeing happening right now with Palworld being sued by Nintendo for patents that shouldn't have been valid in the first place, and Palworld having to fight it nonetheless, and that this could happen in the United States as well. He's not saying anything all of us haven't said already. All of us non-Nintendo stands haven't said already. But the fact that people are quoting this and assuming that it is an official statement from the U.S. Patent Office is leading to a lot of misunderstanding. This is not a statement from the U.S. Patent Office. This guy's word holds more weight than mine because he's an actual patent lawyer, but that does not make him a representative of the U.S. Patent Office. This is still something that the U.S. Patent Office would have to devalidate and admit that was wrong. But that clarifies that. But now we're going to move on to The Verge and what The Verge did wrong. Because in the researching of this, in the trying to find why people are saying that the U.S. Patent Office admitted that they were wrong, I stumbled upon The Verge article, or I stumbled upon a GameSpray article that's discussing something that The Verge did. The Verge is another company like this that produces, it's a news reporting agency that produces a bunch of different stuff. And The Verge is trying to claim that no, the mechanic of Creature Capture Battler game is not patented and that we're all wrong and we're stupid. And while doing it, I'm going to state this ahead of time just so you can know this and then listen to the rest of what I'm going to say. Someone from The Verge, Tom Warren, posted on Twitter, no, Nintendo and Pokemon did not patent summoning characters and making them battle. I've seen plenty of poor reporting on this over the past week. So he is shit-talking the other reporting on this, and then this happened. The first thing that The Verge got wrong here, they claimed that the patents were more complicated and more specific than what they're being made out to be. So it's not it's only this very specific instance of the way that the mechanic is instituted that is patented. One, mechanics should never be able to be patented. I am someone that agrees with the concept of copyright and IP to an extent, but this is abuse. Mechanics is a concept, it's an idea, it's not a unique thing. You shouldn't be able to patent that. But two, the patent is not so specific and so complicated as to make it only apply in a very specific situation. It's almost the exact opposite. You might be able to get around the patent. You might be able to get around it and make a Creature Capture Battler game that is not infringing upon the patent technically if you follow like a very specific route and you build the entire game around the concept of not infringing upon the patent. But even that seems really hard because the way the patent is written is so broad and so encompassing for everything that makes a Creature Capture Battler game like this a thing that there's no real way to get around it. And just from claim one, read claim one, and you can see how broad that is and how encompassing it is. So no, The Verge is wrong. The Verge then quoted an assistant law professor at the American University Washington College of Law. And again, I'm gonna link the Games Fray article down here. The Fray, How to Save a Life. I love that song. Makes me sad every time. But they quoted Charles Dwan, an assistant law professor from American University Washington College of Law, who stated, if an old game like StarCraft, which obviously predates the 2022 earliest filing date of this patent, had all the features that this patent claims, then that invalidates the patent under the patent law rules of anticipation or obviousness. They did that in a way of saying, oh, well, if something like this did exist, then obviously it wouldn't be valid, and obviously it would have never been granted, but kind of in the way that's like, but it did get granted, so obviously that doesn't exist, because StarCraft doesn't have all that. I don't know why they quoted StarCraft. This is just more of a proof that they were quoting someone that didn't really know what they were talking about in this specific situation. He might know, he is a professor. He probably knows very well the concept and the idea, but StarCraft might be the only game he could think of and isn't looking at this clearly enough or looking at in depth enough to realize that is still true, that it is still true that there are games that predate this that should have been considered prior art when the filing of the patent. Because yes, StarCraft doesn't have it, but the Games Fray article cites one of the games that I cited, and a lot of people have cited, and one I don't think I did, also by the same company, all three of these by the same company. I love that they chose Blizzard games. It cites World of Warcraft and Diablo as both games that had that specific mechanic of summoning a sub-character like this Anubis that is a character that I don't control, but can summon and can take him somewhere and watch him kick someone's ass on my behalf. World of Warcraft has that, and World of Warcraft has it in a way that's even more than like Diablo does, because in World of Warcraft, or even more close to the way Palworld and Pokemon do it, in World of Warcraft, the hunter pet has to be captured by you. You have to capture the hunter pet in order to have it, in order to use it. So you have to, gotta catch them all. And I believe in the early iterations of the Warlock minion, you had to too. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but in the early iterations of the Warlock minion, I believe you had to go on a quest and basically capture and enslave a demon in order to do that. So effectively what The Verge did was cite someone who was wrong, and then use that as their proof for why other people are wrong, which I'm gonna harken back to. I've seen plenty of poor reporting on this over the past week with a little, angry face, grimacing face is what it's saying it is. So that is a wild thing to happen. That is a wild little mistake to make when you're really worried about accurate reporting and you're worried about not spreading misinformation, which you clearly are. And finally, the worst mistake that they made. The mistake that they could have avoided entirely if they did something very smart, very intelligent, something you all should be doing, watched my videos, or if they did what I did to get the information for those videos, do a 3-second Google search. Because The Verge made the claim, U.S. patent number 12403-403397 by comparison was filed in the U.S. in March 2023 before Pocket Pair had shown any gameplay footage from Palworld. Palworld was released in early access in January 2024. Does The Verge not know how game releases kind of happen? The trailer releases well before the game usually. 99% of the time, the trailer is released well before the game releases. And two, they state it right here. They state how wrong they are. Now, I'm going to cite two things real quick. The statute of limitations for prior art when filing a patent in Japan is 6 months, and in the United States, it is 1 year. I say that again and again throughout all my videos. Every time I cite why this should never have been validated, why this should never have been allowed, I cite that. And they say the patent was filed in March 2023. They know that it was filed in March 2023. And they know that Palworld released in 2024. But when did the trailer release? And if you've watched my videos, and if you watch my 2 timeline videos, and if you watch them many, many times I've talked about this, you probably know it released on June 5th of 2021. Almost 2 years. Let's see, April, May, June, 21 months before the patent was filed. That's a lot longer, significantly longer, almost twice as long as the 1 year prior art time frame that they have. So no, the patent is not valid on the basis of well, they filed it early enough, so clearly they could do it, because the gameplay trailer in Palworld, the Palworld gameplay trailer, shows some of the mechanics that were patented after the fact. Also, the earliest Japanese patent was outside the statute of limitations, because the Japanese patent was filed in, I believe, December 21st or 22nd of 2021, which is over 6 months after the day that the trailer premiered, which again, Japanese statute of limitations is 6 months. months. So even in Japan and America, they're both wrong. In America, it's just even more wrong. But along with this research, one of the cool things I found here that I wasn't expecting to find, because I went into this, when I saw all these comments, I was like, okay, I'm going to Google where this claim is being made from, because maybe it's true or maybe it's not, and I could release like a clarification short about this and put out like, hey, just so you know, like this isn't true, this is a misunderstanding of what's going on here. And then I found this article and I found more stuff, because the GameSpray article, and I'll link the GameSpray article in the description, and I'll probably forget to do that, so I'll probably get a comment that says where's the link, and then I'll post the link, because I'm really bad about that, has the notices of references cited. Now, a lot of the references cited in this notice of references cited, well, all of them are patents. All of them are previous patents that have been filed. They don't reference other games in this, because this is the document numbers. This is just the patents. And I went through a lot of these patents, and a lot of these patents are already owned by Nintendo, but some of them are owned by a company called NCSoft, some of them are owned by Square Enix. So they are referencing other companies' patents for mechanics, for video game mechanics, and they're probably referencing them in a way of saying, see, something in this concept of a video game mechanic has been patented before, so there's no reason not to grant ours. When you go down to the other part where it lists other documents, other things that need to be cited, the only thing that is referenced in the other documents section of this patent disclosure is the Pokemon website. That is the only other thing that was cited, was the Pokemon website. Because why would they cite World of Warcraft? Why would they cite Ark Survival Evolved? Why would they cite any of these numerous other games that have similar mechanics to this mechanic? That doesn't work for them, which is why the patent examiner should be the one to do that research. One, they are legally required. And my understanding is that they are legally required to do their due diligence and show that they did their due diligence and cite any possible conflicts. But they chose not to because Nintendo is a shady company. So the patent examiner should do it. So here's the searches that the patent examiner performed. I'm just going to pop up 2 or 3 pages, man. Pop up 2 or 3 of these pages because there's a lot of searches, but they appear to only be searches in the patent document database. So the patent examiner didn't go out of the document database and Google, I don't know, creature capture game or games where you can summon a character to fight for you, or any of these very obvious things you would think that he could easily Google or she could easily Google and figure out whether or not something like this has existed before. He just searched the patent document database and came to the conclusion, well, since there's no other patents for something like this, because I guess up until recently people had more integrity, that's not true, but whatever, then it must not be something that's ever been done before. It must be wholly unique. I don't know how old this patent examiner is, but I gotta imagine it's at least 83 years old if they are not aware that other games with this mechanic right here that I am displaying right here have existed before the like well before the statute of limitations for this date, for this patent. I gotta imagine they're on their way out the door. They're heading to Valhalla, they're going to heaven, they're whatever other afterlife there might be. They're going to hell, because how dare they? Sorry. That's extreme. But they put in clearly no due diligence. But that also, I said it in a previous video, what this leads to, what the fact that this proves, this is like evidence of the fact that this is something that other companies are going to have to start doing, is now any company that releases a game is going to have to patent the mechanics in the game. Because if they don't patent the mechanics in the game, when some shady piece of shit company like Nintendo decides to go after them and say, oh, well, I'm going to patent this mechanic and now I'm going to sue you, the evidence is the only thing that the patent office is going to look at is whether or not that mechanic has been patented before. So this is setting up a worse situation. This is setting up a worse timeline type situation for the gaming community and the game dev community, where now it is almost going to be required that you patent any mechanic that you include in a game. Otherwise, someone's going to come after you. They're going to patent it. The patent office is not going to do any amount of due diligence to determine whether or not they have the right to patent it. They're going to get it, and now you're going to be stuck in the middle of a lawsuit. And that is insane. That is pathetic. Whoever this patent examiner is should be fired. Nintendo should be held liable. Nintendo should be sanctioned. Nintendo should have lawsuits filed against them and possibly criminal charges filed against them, because this is like criminal negligence at this point. This is I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'll talk to my buddy who's a lawyer and see if he can tell me what the exact crime is. But there's got to be a crime for this level of just abuse of the legal system and abuse of the patent system and the way they're using it to go after, small indie companies. But with that, I'm going to leave this here. Please leave a like and a comment and hype the video if you can. Every bit of engagement helps the video do better. But if you really want to help me out, please click on the playlist over there and watch it. watch it, like those videos, comment on those videos. There's only 4 videos on there. That is my storytelling channel. There's currently only 4 videos on the storytelling channel, but I'm going to be putting out a new video every week on the storytelling channel. And if you have been around for a while, you'll know that like the first 1,500 to 2,000 of my subs came from when my channel was almost exclusively me telling stories. I slowly started branching out. I ended up getting into the kind of niche that I'm in right now, where I talk crap about Nintendo and YouTube seems to like it. But unfortunately, I still want to do the storytelling. I still want to post my stories. I still want to talk about the stories and post them and have people react to them and, you know, relate to them and blah, blah, blah. But YouTube punishes variety, especially on small channels. And I'm a very small channel. YouTube punishes variety. So after I started doing this, when I started posting storytelling videos, they barely got any views. They barely got any notice because that's not what the people that watch me want to watch anymore. But if you could go over there, if enough of the people that are subscribed to me and enough of the people that watch this video, go over there, watch that playlist. It's about an hour long. You know, play it in the background, play it as you're going to sleep to help my voice lull you to sleep, play it on your drive to work, play it over the course of a few days. I don't know. If enough people do that and enough people subscribe to that channel, then that channel can start taking off. I could start getting good traction on that channel, getting more people watching it. The way the algorithm works is the more people that watch it, the more people that will see it, kind of thing. And hopefully get to the point where it's monetized so that I can afford to start paying my editor more, because my big goal right now is get to the point where the channel's making enough money that I can hire my editor on full time so that I can start working on some of the other projects I want to work on, and so that I can start putting out more content more consistently, higher quality, more research being put into it, because we'll be able to dedicate more time to the channel, this channel and other channels. So please, if you could be so kind, that would be amazing. You could put it on your phone while you're cooking dinner, whatever it is. I don't know, that it would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much. But with that, fuck Nintendo.